Okay. So when you're measuring the shoulder, it really depends on which movement you're doing is where you're going to place the goniometer. So if you're doing flexion or extension, the goniometer is going to be on the side. And think about it, the goniometer is going to be in the same plane as the movement. So since those movements are in the sagittal plane, I'm going to have the goniometer in the sagittal plane. So I'm going to have my stationary arm is going to be perpendicular to the floor. And as she moves her arm, so I want you to raise your arm towards the ceiling. My movable arm is going to follow the humerus. So I have to really keep this on my imaginary axis perpendicular to the floor and line this one up right through the middle of the humerus. So it doesn't matter if someone has really skinny arms or really flabby arms or whatever, or muscular arms, you need to feel the humerus and line it right up with that. So if you have, put it down for a second, please. If you are starting with your axis too high, then when the person moves the arm, you won't be able to line it up with the bone. If you're starting too low, when the person moves the arm, you won't be able to line it up. So really, if you line it up with the bone, that's getting your axis where you need it. Okay? Then the next hard part is figuring out which of these numbers to read. So if my goniometer started down here, then I see the numbers are going up this way. So I'm reading these black numbers, I'm reading on this side. So that was actually about 120, I think. I didn't pay attention. For extension, I'm doing the same thing. I'm starting that same thing, going perpendicular to the floor. I ask the person to pull their elbow back. And again, I am lining it up right through that humerus. So originally, you saw I started a little too low, but I didn't get a good line. So when I adjusted it, now it's in the right place. And here again, I'm reading these black numbers right here, because here was 0 and the goniometer moved from there. Now, if we were doing abduction, I would again have my goniometer perpendicular to the floor, but now because the movement's occurring in the coronal plane, I have the goniometer in the coronal plane on the back, because it's a little awkward to be in front of somebody and holding a goniometer. So I have this one perpendicular to the floor, and she elevates her arm, and I would make sure that they're truly in abduction and not in scaption. And then I would again, when it lines up right through the bone, then it's in the right place. And I would follow my numbers up, and there it was, 126. We don't have to measure adduction, because if she brings her arm back down to her side, that's considered 0.